think about like, especially like some of the fishing clients that I work with, it's like, how many big fish pictures do you really want? Right. I mean, we love, the person that was in the photo really loves that big fish they caught, but is your website or wherever you're sharing this to have 25 big fish pictures, is that really going to sell the person more than one big fish picture that was taken really well?
This is Local SEO Tactics, where each week we go over tips and tricks to help your local business get found online. And this week we got a fun episode here. It's actually going to be a two-part episode. First part here this week, and next part will be airing next week. We're going to be talking to local photographer Matt Addington. Matt is a friend of mine, and he actually did some work with us for our Local SEO Tactics show, and he's going to be sharing some insight with us on how to take better photos for your business. Back in episode 6, we touched on this a little bit. Check that out if you want to get a precursor to this here. And Matt was actually listening to the podcast and called me up saying, hey, I can come in and talk more about this stuff here. So Matt's going to shed a lot of great light on this, give us some great insight on how you can do even better to take photos and videos for your website, really tell a good, engaging story, and help you out. So stay tuned. We're going to have some fun stories with Matt, talking about some trips he takes to Africa and some other adventures. And again, really how to just take better photos and being more engaging with your website. So stay tuned, and we hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, it's Jesse here. Wanted to talk real quick about Review Lead. Got a pretty cool offer we're kicking off here this week. For all you listeners, it's going to be $150 a month. That's a pretty steep discount off the usual price. If you want to take advantage of that and check out more, go to intrix.com/review150. That's review150. You're going to find some good outline information about Review Lead on there. As always, there's a big blue button for you to click to kick off your audit. We're going to show you where you're getting reviews, where you're not getting reviews, and give you a real quick summary and score of basically your review landscape of what's happening out there, so you can see where the holes are and what this can do for you. So check that out. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. You're going to see there's a real quick video. It's about 2 minutes or so. I did just kind of outlining how Review Lead works, kind of getting into the back end, showing you what your customers are going to see and kind of see it in action. So if you haven't done that yet, check it out. intrix.com/review150. Watch the video, learn how this thing works, take advantage of that free audit, of course. And if you like this and you want to get on board, you're going to save money, and it's $150, or if you go annually, it's $120 a month. So pretty good deal. Check it out. intrix.com/review150. Hey everyone, welcome back to Local SEO Tactics. Jesse Dolan here with Bob Brennan as usual. And today we have a special guest, Matt Addington, a photographer extraordinaire. And we're going to kind of revisit back in episode 6. We talked about some of the basic tips and tricks that you need to do to set up your own web pages and kind of build a good foundation for your website. Within that, we were talking about how to take photos and do your own photography. Sometimes it makes sense to use stock photography. Sometimes it's easier and actually more beneficial to just take your own photos. So, and after episode 6 dropped, I was actually talking with Matt on the phone. He called me, I think you were in your truck, making fun of me for talking like I knew what I was talking about, for how to take your own photos. And Matt was sharing some good pointers with me, and I said, we got to get you in for an episode. Matt and I know each other personally. We live kind of close to each other. So we thought it'd be really cool for him to come on in as soon as his schedule permitted and get him in to talk about that with you guys more, to help you out, to just take some better photos and some videos too for your website. So,
and you were soliciting like guests. You guys were desperate to have a guest.
Right.
Like some random dude that lives in your neighborhood just happened to stop by.
Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing Monday night?
Yeah,
that's an easy target. Let's get him in here. So,
yep.
But no, so we just wanted to kind of have a round table, and for all of you listening, this is our first interview, so we're just kind of roll with it. Talk a little bit about Matt, why he's an expert. Matt also did, we should say, like the intro for our show. And all the graphics you see in the photos of Bob and I, Matt came in and took all that for us before we started the show. Really helped us out to kind of set off a good image. So not only do I know Matt personally, but he's done work for us. So we can definitely testify that you know what you're talking about, aside from your pedigree and your portfolio and all that. So maybe let's get into that real quick. So how long have you been doing photography professionally?
Well, I've been paying bills with it for about 10 years, I guess. Okay. Been taking pictures since I was a kid. I've kind of always been fascinated with it, and as an artist, I guess photography's sort of been the niche that I've fallen into. So about 10 years though professionally.
And I know you do a lot of all kinds of photography, but particularly in the outdoor space. Some of the people, let me pull it up here. some of the people Matt's worked with in the past doing projects for names like Rapala. We got Lund, Pioneer, kind of a lot of the agriculture stuff too.
Just a lot of people. I mean, outdoors, hunting, fishing, agriculture are kind of my one side of my world, and partnered with a lot of these companies just on projects that I was on that they were sponsors with or involved with, providing images and kind of helping to tell their story. So I've been pretty lucky to go some cool places with some cool people.
I like how you were saying that earlier too, before we started recording, about, like you said, it's all telling stories. Doesn't matter if it's whether it be outdoor, agriculture, you do some wedding photography too. It's all just telling stories and capturing the moments for people, which we thought you did really good for us for our show, which was still in the very infant stages, but holy crap, that looked pretty professional. And
we live in a world now where we are looking at pictures more than ever, and we are taking pictures more than ever. And I think the standard for any visual consumer, whether you're looking at a podcast or you're out in a fishing boat in remote Canada or you're on a hunting trip or you're taking a wedding photo, people have a new standard because, everybody's kind of an expert now walking around with the camera in their pocket all the time. And so the game of content has stepped up like never before, which is awesome for me being in my business, that people are trusting me to represent their company or their brand or them as individuals for that matter. So it's a exciting time, but it's one that you need to make sure you're providing the people that are consuming your product or just following you on a particular social media. The game is at a new standard for sure.
Like I said, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I mean, you're flipping through this stuff. Obviously, we're not talking about websites here, kind of going social, but you're only stopping if really there's a photo or a movie that's auto playing that grabs your interest. You're not usually reading the headlines or the text. It's all about, that image, and it starts the whole story.
For sure. And as a business, as a company, as a brand, those things are as important as ever. I mean, obviously people are going to want to share their wedding photos or their family photos or the things that are happening, and they want those to look good. But if you are a brand, there's an incredible amount of money being invested in having a certain image, having a certain look, having a certain identity through the images and video that are being put out there, which is, like I said, there's a new standard there.
Now, speaking of new standard and kind of transition to newer technology, we were talking earlier, you've been experimenting a lot with drone videography. Sure. How do you get into that? You just buy a drone, start messing around, or
it seems like everybody's got one now, but it's something that I kind of just dabbled with, I guess, going on 4 years ago now. And in my images that I've tried to take for people and groups and companies, I've always tried to tell a story from a unique perspective that we're not always seeing. We walk around at eye level between 5 and 6 feet, most of the day, and that's what people see. And for me, I've been successful trying to get my camera to places that people aren't looking all the time. And so a drone was an obvious choice to get a camera to a pretty unique place. And so it's been fun to see the world from a different perspective and to be able to capture, photos and images and video from that place and kind of tell a story from the air, which is kind of cool.
I should tell people too. What is Facebook? Is it facebook.com/Matt Addington Photography?
Right on. Yep. That would be my Facebook page. So.
If you guys are out there, if you're curious or photography is your thing, you just want to see some cool stuff, go follow Matt on Facebook. Matt is lucky enough to live in a pretty cool area, and so sometimes you do Facebook Live with your drone. I've seen. Yep. And other times just uploading pieces that he's put together. And sometimes you're combining drone with traditional photography or time lapse too. Just some stellar stuff. So even if you just want to check it out, get onto his Facebook page there and give it a follow. Even if you want to, obviously you're fine with getting followers, right?
For sure. Yep.
But just some really cool images. And I was joking with my wife a few weeks ago. I was flipping through something. I forget what it was exactly. But it wasn't like on your page or something else, but it was a photo you took. I think it was for somebody in real estate. And I was like, that looks like a Matt Addington photograph right there. And sure enough, it was. But that's testament to the style and how you capture it. It was very unique. So.
I think you try. I remember early in my career, I was trying to, what is my identity? What am I trying to look like? You see other photographers and pictures that you like, and that there's a style. And for whatever reason, I've maybe kind of settled into that a little bit. And, my Facebook page is kind of a catch-all of, there might be a picture of a bride and a groom, and then the next picture is going to be a time lapse, and the next one is going to be a hunting image. So Facebook has been like I said, a catch-all. There's a lot of stuff there, but it's just all of these stories that somehow are related that I get to tell around the world, which is kind of cool.
Let's talk about some of your outdoor stuff, because that stuff for me is super cool. I mean, no offense to you or any photographer, but wedding photography, senior portraits, it's kind of the standard MO, right? If you're in photography, not everybody gets to travel all over the place and follow people on hunting excursions and lifetime excursions.
Sure.
You got any of those that stand out? Any cool places you've been recently?
Yeah. I have been in Africa the last 3 years, working with a school over there, and Simba Educational Ministries is the group from America. So my travels through Africa have provided just a whole new story of what life looks like on a different side of the world with a people that obviously look a lot different than us, talk different than us, live in a way that's really different than us, but the story of joy and being able to see that they have everything that we are trying to gain. We're trying to, what's next, and we got to find something that's better, and we're spinning our wheels doing that, and they don't have any of that, but they've got this contentment and joy. So my travels through Africa have provided really cool insight to that whole life there, but also just the adventure of Africa is a place that before I ever went, I had a friend that said there's something innately interesting about Africa that once it's in you, you have a hard time letting go of it. And my last trip, I spent the night on the Masai Mara in a tent in lion country, where they said, keep your tent zipped up or you're going to have monkeys in during the night. And, I was face to face with a female lion and woke up the next morning with 2 male cheetahs within 15 feet of me.
Crazy.
Completely wild. So, I mean, there's some cool adventures on that front. Those were not really for a brand or a company per se, but just the adventure of being there. I've been able to do some, hunting and fishing trips kind of all over North America that have been pretty fun adventures. And, from Alaska to, the reaches of Quebec to lots of time in the Rockies, trying to, tell stories for companies and brands that trusted me to capture images and video of. So
how do you do that? Like somebody, like if I'm going, elk hunting or something or whatever, and hire you to come along, whether it be for me personally or as a brand to kind of capture it. Is there a lot of setup on the front side? Like here's some things we're looking for, or do you just kind of freewheel? And
so much of what I would tell a bride and groom the same thing. I just try to just capture the authenticity of what's happening on a hunt. There are times, or on a fishing trip, there are times that you do need to stage things and set things up. You try to just stay one step ahead of what's happening and know that, hey, that we're going to have a sunset coming up. We need to, I'd really like to have a fish to photograph there. Or there are times where it's a little bit scripted, but if you're truly telling the story, I feel like I try to not have a crazy script to it and just be able to let things happen, even though sometimes you have to steer things a little bit.
Sure, direct it a little bit, set it up. Yeah.
But I mean, my passion, that's real for me. And I've been on some of these shoots where there's been photographers or videographers along that you could quickly tell this was not their deal. They might be really good, photographers or videographers, but they were not completely at home.
Sure.
That's home for me. So for me to be, standing waist deep in in the water or knee deep in a pasture of manure,
face to face with a lion.
Face to face with a lion. Those are things that that fuel me and are exciting to me. Yeah. So I think the images then show that. I hope they show that that this is authentic, to my life, and it's something that I feel like I know what I'm trying to capture. I know because this is real for me. Right.
Well, yeah, I think that comes through in your work. Like I said, if people haven't checked you out, definitely get out there on Facebook and follow Matt, and you'll see some of that comes through. And I think kind of back to the whole point of you being on the show is that's the kind of stuff, you want to make sure it comes through for your business. if you're trying to present your business in the best light possible, always try to be natural and truthful. Don't try to be fake and be something you're not, because speaking in the business world, especially with local service businesses, which is, who we try to help here, the truth is going to come out. Yeah. You can't try to be something that you're not. You can present yourself in the best light possible, direct it a little bit, but you really can't take something out of nothing.
Yeah,
and try to present it. So.
I look around and I think, like most people, we have a discernment for what's, what looks good now and what doesn't. And, you see some businesses on websites or on social putting things out there that it's just like, ugh, if you're going to do it yourself, which is great. I mean, obviously people can hire somebody like me to do their images, and you're paying for ultimately a good product. But, like you're leading a lot of your listeners into, people can do their own stuff and do pretty well with it without having to spend a tremendous amount of money. They just need a few things. I mean, you can do it with a cell phone for that matter, but there's some parts to it that pay attention to if you're going to put this out to represent yourself.
Maybe like us for our show page, for example, we wanted some really good images that captured us, together. We need an expert for that. Now, if we're going to just show some widget or gadget or like the day-to-day life of something, we can do that ourselves. But, maybe sometimes you can't do everything yourself, and you got to bring in an expert for very specific parts. But
if you're passionate, about auto repair or truck repair, the passion can drive the creativity. And that you can take your phone and you can show the line of the classic car, or you could show the grease on your hands, or whatever the things that drive the passion for that business. And that's, to me, a photographer can do that. But like you were just saying earlier, Matt, when there's other photographers on the scene and they're not hunters, let's say, or they're not farmers, they could do the job to some extent, but it's you that understands the feel of the corn underneath your feet, and some of that tactile stuff. And by taking that passion, you can do a lot with a little, and just tap into, let's say, what Matt knows, and really take it 90% of the way there, so to speak.
And I think what you're saying, I think people so often try to capture everything in one image. You talk about if you're into, you've got a car repair business. I think the stuff that speaks to me is when you can take an image, even with your phone, and make sure it's simple. It could be the grease on the hands, and just a simple close-up of that is going to tell a story that it is going to probably be more powerful than the whole car with all of the tools and the guy underneath and all of this stuff, when really, something as simple as the grease on your hands, or just showing that these hands are worn, and
these hands work on cars.
Exactly.
Right.
That would be, one of the huge tips that I would give people, just if you're going to even do it with your phone, is don't put too much in there, and don't allow people to be distracted by things in the background and things happening all over the place. Keep it simple, keep it focused, keep it tight, keep things in a place that allows the viewer to look at it and just appreciate the simplicity of what they see.
Yep. Well, I think speaking in terms of, putting a website together too, your example of using the one image to kind of capture everything, that's an ad, right? That's a poster. That's not a website. You have room for multiple images, multiple pages even, so I kind of like, where you guys are going with the example, telling that story of showing the elements and the parts, that make it up, instead of trying to do the whole. And maybe you can do the whole with all the other things together there. But definitely, we all have multiple services, or products, that we're trying to promote on our website and make people aware of. Is just kind of getting unique on those and getting down into those details that say what makes us, what kind of builds that, and really, if you're flipping through the pages, what's a picture for each part of the story, for each page of the story. That's definitely an interesting way to look at it, because I know I'm guilty of probably that other way, where I'm trying to capture the whole thing, get everything here on this one photo. But
even when we did the shots with you guys here that you guys have used, I'm a lot more interested in looking at just your microphone flags and just the close-ups of that, and that tells part of the story of what you guys are doing. Your logo and the microphone, and it's not, oh my gosh, we're going to take a picture of the whole setting and we're going to show computers and all of these things at one time. Just, whetting people's appetite with just the things that define whatever it is that you do, whether it's doing a podcast or fixing cars or, you're a fisherman or whatever it might be. Let people's mind help to formulate the story by just showing them something simple. And, like you're saying with a website, do that on different pages instead of trying to show it all at one time.
Right. I mean, it's important to have a good, main image on certain spots, but in general, I mean, you're going to want multiple images on pretty much every page. That's good to tell your story. It's also good for SEO. You get multiple images in there. That's more chances to put keywords and your file names and your alt tags and all that kind of stuff too. So, not going to get too technical on this one today. It's more about the techniques in the photography, but you want multiple images. So I think this is a good kind of way to frame all that up. No pun intended.
And some people, the pictures they're taking are a photo gallery for their Instagram feed. That's, here's my kids and here's the family vacation and here's, it shows every picture from every monument that you stopped at. That's great. That's not necessarily the stuff that's going to define a brand or a company or, people that are trying to run a business. But, they still tell a story. It's just like, hey, we want to come over and watch my, home movies with me. And it's like,
watch all my postcards.
There's some more Yellowstone pictures, it's like, but challenging yourself with, okay, if we are going to Yellowstone, what could I do if I had to take one picture or two pictures that defined my experience in Yellowstone? What would they be? And, as a photographer, that's where you have to be able to think creatively a little bit instead of just saying, hey, here's a slideshow of 100 pictures and enjoy, And
because you're saying that, I'm kind of in my head, I'm thinking about if I were to see some pictures, say, of Yellowstone, if I had to ask you, tell me what's happening here. You know what I mean? Like that's intriguing versus, having that reaction of, hey, next picture, please. Right. Oh, there's your kids again, and things like that. If it's intriguing, it should almost invite you, to ask more, want to explore more. And again, if framing that back to the website, you want to read more, click more, view more, call the company and get the service there, kind of reinforce that brand. So
think about especially some of the fishing clients that I work with. It's like, how many big fish pictures do you really want?
Right.
I mean, we love, the person that was in the photo really loves that big fish they caught, but is your website or wherever you're sharing this to have 25 big fish pictures? Is that really going to sell the person more than one big fish picture that was taken really well? You probably don't need.
You've already communicated the big fish.
Exactly.
So what else? What else is part of it?
And so there's a lot more that goes to defining your business than, look at all these big fish.
Right.
We can go down to the local sporting goods store and look at the bulletin board and see everybody with their big fish if you want.
Which is almost the same picture for everybody too.
Exactly.
Which that doesn't really resonate.
Right.
And so on. But let's get into I want to ask you some questions, maybe just about your best practices and advice you can give to people. All right, we're going to pause it right there. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. We've had some great stories and great tips from Matt already. Next week for part 2 of the episode, we're going to get even deeper into some question and answer. And Matt's got some pretty good tips coming up for, again, how to just tell better stories with your pictures, how to take better pictures, and really get creative with it. So he knows what he's talking about. Tune in next week and check that out. You're really going to enjoy that. Going to get into our 5-star review of the week here. This week we have a great 5-star review left from Olga Wharton. Olga says, I have accidentally stumbled on this company's podcast and immediately saved it. Within a week, I went back to listen to every single episode. It was informative, clear, and well prepared. The topics discussed were right on target for my business. I like how they were detailed and how they explained everything. They spoke on very technical topics with a very human approach. It was easy to understand and follow them. I have ended up implementing some of the strategies they have advised, and I'm excited to see the results. I'm also happy that this company focuses on building relationships with its customers. I will always recommend them and will refer everyone I know. Olga, thanks for the kind words. As she's referring to in there, we do build relationships. We've actually talked with Olga offline. We've traded some emails and some phone calls. And yeah, we've given her some tips. She reached out to us with some questions, just like we tell everybody. You can find us at intrix.com/show. If you need some help, if you're stuck with anything, if you want us to explain something even further, kind of help you out, we're here for you. This is what we do. We have local businesses here that we operate, and we use these tactics on our businesses. We help our customers with their businesses to do the same. So when we say this, we really do mean it. And Olga, again, thanks for the great 5-star review, and thanks for having that come through and being transparent to share it with everybody. We really appreciate that. So you guys can reach us at intrix.com/show. And if you want to leave us a review on iTunes, we'd really appreciate that. Like we keep saying, it helps us know we're on the right track, lets us know if we're bringing value to you, and if we're doing a good job. So if you can do that, we'd love to see that. intrix.com/iTunes. You're going to find a real quick link to iTunes and a real quick tutorial on how to get that done. Appreciate that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, stay tuned for next week for part 2 with Matt, and I hope you enjoy. Have a great week.